Joining us now is a woman who makes a living answering real questions all over the media landscape. She is new mom, Karoline Leavitt, been on the show with us for many years now. Karoline, appreciate you coming on with us. How wild is the campaign season for you? What's happening Labor Day weekend?
Hey, what's going on, Clay? It is absolutely wild, especially being a new mom, no doubt about it. And now we're about to be in the post-Labor Day sprint, so it's going to get even crazier. Last week, the American people saw President Trump barnstorming the country. He was in, I think, 7 states in the matter of 5 days, and that's what they can expect moving forward. The president works harder than anyone I know, and we're going to be all over the country, crisscrossing all the battleground states, bringing his message and contrasting his record of success with Kamala's record of failures and weakness. We're very excited about the big debate on September 10th. We have finally agreed to terms with the Harris campaign. They tried to backtrack a little bit on us. They wanted Kamala to bring in notes. I think they're getting worried because they know she's incapable of speaking without a teleprompter nearby, but we hope that she'll show up on the 10th. President Trump will be there no matter what, and we're excited about it.
Okay, tell us about that debate on September 10th. My understanding is it's going to be in Philadelphia. There will be no audience present. They will be standing. The mics will be muted when, the other candidate is not speaking. In other words, the candidate who is speaking can speak, but the other one cannot. And then no notes. Am I right about all of those details?
You are correct about all of those details. It is the exact same rules and ground game that we had in the CNN debate with Joe Biden. And our campaign and the Harris campaign agreed to those terms to keep it the same. And then, because frankly, it worked out quite well for us, didn't it? It knocked Joe Biden out of the race. I mean, the reason we have Kamala Harris today is because President Trump dominated him in that debate so much, so it really exposed his cognitive decline. However, the Harris campaign, again, they tried to backtrack in the past week. They wanted her to bring in notes. They blamed it on the mics. That wasn't it. They're realizing as they prep Kamala for the debate that she is ill-equipped of explaining policy. She doesn't know where she stands. They're trying to make her look like a moderate when she is not. She is truly a radical liberal. They're having a hard time with it. But nevertheless, we came to an agreement. It is set in stone, and September 10th is the big night.
Okay, Kamala is doing an interview tonight with CNN. I don't know exactly what time they're taping, but it's with Dana Bash, who was one of the moderators of the June 27th debate alongside of Jake Tapper, if I remember correctly, when Trump, your boss, knocked out Joe Biden, legitimately knocked him out of politics. What do you expect the interview to look like for Dana Bash and Walz and Harris, part one? Part two, you are the campaign spokesperson. I would bet that the Trump team doesn't tell you, hey, you need to take a boy with you when you do an interview. As a woman, do you see Kamala Harris needing to bring a man with her for an interview when she's claiming that she wants to be commander-in-chief as a pretty significant sign of weakness?
I absolutely do. And frankly, I think it sends a horrible message to women and girls across the country who are watching her campaign and seeing her run as the first hopeful female president of the United States, and she can't even sit down for an interview by herself. I think it's actually quite sad and sets a horrible example. But the CNN interview is set to pre-tape, nevertheless, in about an hour from now. And look, Clay, I've aired my grievances with Dana Bash and Jake Tapper before. I think in the debate with President Trump and Joe Biden, they actually proved to be quite fair. And I hope that Dana Bash will be fair and tough against Kamala Harris in the same way she was against Senator J.D. Vance last week when he sat down with her for more than an hour-long interview and answered tough questions about issues and policy and things that he has said in the past. She needs to question Kamala Harris about the things she has said in the past, like does she still support her radical ban on fracking? Does she still support the decriminalization of illegal immigration? Does she still support eliminating cash bail for violent criminals? And why did she and Tim Walz allow violent rioters to burn down innocent businesses and homes in the summer of 2020? And Kamala went on to bail those people out of jail. So, look, there are a lot of questions that need to be asked and answered of Kamala Harris tonight. It is CNN's responsibility to do so. We hope that they will, and we will have to see what happens.
Do you think that there will be a second debate between Trump and Kamala Harris? We know she was afraid and unwilling to do, I think it was September 4th on Fox News. President Trump suggested Martha McCallum and Brett Baer as moderators. I think that would have been very fair. I think both of them do great work. This is me personally. I've been on both their shows. I think they have very fair shows. They certainly, even, I think President Trump wasn't happy with Brett Baer for one interview because he thought he was too tough or didn't like some of the questions, but Trump was willing to go and do the Fox News debate. Do you think Kamala will try to do only one? Do you think there will be a second one?
Well, we certainly want there to be more than one. I can tell you that. President Trump has committed to 3 debates with Kamala Harris. She's, of course, only committed to the ABC debate, but he committed to one with NBC, which is arguably the most biased network of all, and he committed to one with Fox News, which Kamala, of course, rejected those invitations. I don't know. You'll have to ask the Harris campaign if they ever come on your show, Clay. I think they are waiting to see. I wouldn't hold your breath. But I don't think that – I think they are waiting to see how Kamala performs, and then they will make a decision on whether or not she shows up for another debate. But we'd like to do as many as possible.
I think that, by the way, is 100% right for what they're going to do. They're going to wait and see how it goes and then decide whether they're willing to sit for NBC. The president has been doing interviews all over the place with everyone, including, and I've been impressed by this, and I think for our audience, you might be able to explain it very well because you're young. And there's so many voters out there that are young that find their information from YouTube or from social media influencers. So, for instance, I think it's Aiden Ross, super popular on social media. Same thing with Theo Vaughn. The President Trump did big sit-down interviews with both of those guys, for instance. What's the impact there, and what's the strategy?
Well, President Trump has always sat down with the legacy media, first of all, right? The CNN, the NBCs, ABCs of the world. He has never been afraid to go into these hostile environments, and he continues to do that. He also engages in local media interviews all the time. These don't really even get picked up or noticed in the press or on X, if you will. But every time we go to a state, President Trump makes a point to speak with the local reporter within that media market in that state. And then another part of his earned media strategy is sitting down with these alternative earned media venues, if you will, like doing the live stream on X with Elon Musk, which had a massive following, massive listenership. There was, I believe, more than 1 billion impressions on that live stream a couple days later. The Aiden Ross interview received millions of hits. He recently sat down for a really engaging conversation with Theo Vaughn on his podcast, which is currently #1 on Spotify. And so these opportunities are purposeful, and they give President Trump an opportunity to speak to different demographics that don't watch traditional earned media, that he can speak directly to young people, talk to them about his policies, and really share his vision for the country. And it's been wildly successful. And, we're getting a good bang for our buck, so to speak, with these interviews, and the president really enjoys doing them. He is such a conversationalist. He's so wise. He's a great storyteller, and he has a real command of the issues. So he's able to really sit down with all hosts of personalities and talk about any issue under the sun, and it's always an engaging and lively conversation. And that's just something that Kamala Harris is truly incapable of doing. She has proven that time and time again. Every time she is without a script or talking points from her advisors, she makes a fool of herself because she doesn't have conviction in what she believes. I don't think she's very smart, to be honest with you, and she lacks credibility on many of the issues that matter.
We're talking to Karoline Leavitt, Trump campaign spokesperson. You are a member of Gen Z, if I'm not mistaken. That is people who are roughly 18 to 29-year-olds. Okay, so this is a question for you that I was talking about earlier this week. We got a lot of people out there listening, daughters, granddaughters, that are Kamala supporters. There's a New York Times story that the biggest gap in age range support on gender issues is actually 18 to 29-year-olds. Boys, 18 to 29, men, however you want to classify it, are voting for Trump by plus 12. I believe women were voting for Kamala by plus 38, according to, again, this was the Sunday New York Times I read this in. Why do you think that is?
Well, I am Gen Z. In fact, my 27th birthday was this past week. I'm still waiting on my cake from you, Clay. I'm sure it got lost in the
Happy
mail.
birthday. Yeah, it's on the way right now. You know, I just got a FedEx notice. They managed to lose it, so it'll be there soon.
I'm sure it will. I thank you in advance for that. No, look, to actually answer your question, I do think there is a gap, a gender gap that exists, especially amongst young people in this country, with men versus women. In fact, young men, Generation Z boys, are the most conservative demographic that we've seen in decades in terms of young people. Like, they identify as more conservative than we've seen from this age group since the 60s. I actually read that and recently saw it in a poll. Well, you look at women, it's a little bit different. I think it has a lot to do with the culture that we live in, unfortunately, a lot to do with media, and frankly, every institution in this country is controlled by leftists. I mean, the public school system sadly has gone down the drain. You look at the teachers' unions and educators in many big schools, especially in big cities, they are leftist primarily. You look at, of course, the higher education system, totally controlled by leftists. So by the time many of these young people are on their college campus, they're already left-leaning, and then they are being indoctrinated further. I think the Democrat Party, unfortunately, and we're fighting this every day, has done a good job of indoctrinating young women into the, my body, my choice mantra movement, and we have to change hearts and minds with young women across the country. I think, though, as we've always seen throughout history, as these young people get older, as they, graduate from college with thousands of dollars of debt on their backs, they enter the workforce, they are going to become conservative again. We always see that happen. I think we'll continue to see it because you understand the way the world works. You understand that the government is not your friend. It's actually a big part of the problem. You want more money in your pocket. You want to be taxed less. And you just kind of come back to reality, to be honest. But we are seeing President Trump pick up historic gains with young people overall, and especially with young men. He's certainly reaching out to them with doing some of these podcasts he's been sitting on, going to UFC fights, and he's a dude, and I think he resonates with a lot of young men in this country who feel like, the Democrat Party and the Hollywood elite that control our institutions just don't really speak for them anymore.
You just had a 27th birthday, and I'm so glad that my birthday cake is going to get to you in time for even a belated birthday. But have you dealt with the fact, last question for you, Karoline, you grew up and the New England Patriots were really good. Are you prepared for an era when the New England Patriots might be the worst team in the NFL?
I have to say, as I'm in my late 20s, I have never known a Patriots team that sucks, and it sucks to suck. The last couple of seasons have been tough to watch. My husband tells me we're in a rebuilding era right now. I hope that he's right. I hope someday my son will get to know the dynasty, the Patriots dynasty that I did. I had more Super Bowl parties by the time I was like 10 years old than anyone experiences in their life. So I'm hopeful. I believe in Patriots Nation. And you know what? Being a New England sports fan, it's been a great ride. A lot of, like I said, Super Bowl parties, a lot of championships, a lot of fun.
Karoline Leavitt, she's killing it for President Trump. She just celebrated her 27th birthday. The only thing going bad for her is the Patriots are no longer a good football team. Karoline, we will talk to you again soon. Tell your husband that he better be right about the rebuild, or there's going to be a lot of angry Patriots fans out there.
I will indeed. He's a long-time Pats fan. I think he has it covered. Thank you, Clay.
Thank you, Karoline. All right, she's truly doing fantastic work. Many of you are watching her on a regular basis. We'll come back. We'll take some of your calls, by the way, 800-282-2882. We got Miranda Devine at the bottom of the hour. I wanted to have a conversation with her about the fact that all of her reporting in the New York Post, oh, yeah, Mark Zuckerberg now says it's all true. We'll talk about that. In the meantime, new movie, Reagan, coming to theaters nationwide tomorrow. The story of Ronald Reagan's life and his impact as our president. Dennis Quaid plays Reagan, delivers an incredible performance. I heard from a couple of friends. They had one of the premieres in Franklin, Tennessee, right outside of Nashville, near where I live. They said it was a really fun movie, worth checking it out. Movie follows Reagan's life from childhood to presidency, told through a conversation between a former KGB agent played by John Voight and a Russian politician. Interesting. Elements and highlights of Reagan's speeches. Timing of the movie couldn't be better with all the attention on the upcoming presidential race, and so many of you out there longing for the era of Ronald Reagan. You can get your tickets now at ReaganMovie.com. That's ReaganMovie.com.